Welcome, welcome everyone to our next podcast. Today, we are going to be chatting to you all about aliens and unidentified flying objects, just some of that crazy stuff out there. You know, these are the mysteries of the universe and our planet and Earth, and these are the things that are so exciting, that just so unexplained that really attract us. So, what do you think, right?
Well, that explains the title. A UFO stole my barbecue. And obviously, as we know, this is the barbecue series, Boys Talking About the Barbecue. So now I know what we're talking about today. So I've come slightly prepared. I've got my headphones on today. So peeps out there, feel free to comment on the sound quality, trying to debate whether it's better with or without. So we're getting high tech here. And as you can see by the vehicle behind me, that's got all kind of alien things on it. We'll discuss that in another episode. But clearly, aliens are, well, are they? Are they? Are they, Mike? Talk to me.
Well, I remember way back when I was a little kid, and I don't know if it was from Battlestar Galactica days, Star Wars days.
I used to love that.
I know it was one of my favorite shows, but I still have this memory of waking up through the night. Everyone was asleep in the house. My parents were asleep, and I opened the front door and I looked outside, and I could see these spaceships trailing along.
Oh.
Yes, and I was like, whoa, that's freaky, And till this day, I think that possibly that was that aliens? Was that?
You've really seen UFOs.
I think so. I think so. I haven't seen twinkling strange lights in the sky whizzing around, but I can remember being a little kid thinking that I saw spaceships going along the sky, and everyone else was asleep. Nobody saw it. I was the only kid getting up. A little bit like Encounters. That movie where the little kid gets up through the night? That was me.
Yeah. Were you drinking at the time?
I was probably 7, because a lot of stuff happened to me when I was 7.
Milk, you drink too much milk at 7, it can affect you. Well, because, like you, I've always been fascinated. My dad and I were fascinated around the whole UFO thing. Just a quick thing on Dad, he's not with us anymore. He's probably up with the UFOs. He probably is a UFO, definitely an alien. When he was a little boy, so we're talking, he was born in 24, so maybe, I don't know, 1930, somewhere around there, at the dinner table, saying out loud, he had some brothers and sisters that they're going to put a man on the moon one day. And his father saying to him, that is absolute nonsense. There is no way that's going to happen. And look where we are now. But we used to really get into this whole UFO thing. And one of the books I'm going to bring up here, one of the authors we first heard about or read was a guy called Eric von Daniken. And he wrote this book, and a lot of people out there probably would have heard about it. Called,
what a great name.
Chariots of the Gods. And he wrote about the planes, the NASCAR planes in South America. And it was like, OMG, this guy really knows his stuff. And we didn't know that UFOs were still a bit kooky still about it those days. And we were right into it, man. They were real.
Yeah. It's wonderful. And when you're talking about the moon, I was just like, that's a great topic for us for one of our next videos, how we got to space, get to the moon.
But did they land on the moon? Or was that just a big scam?
And what's up with the dark side of the moon? What's going on there? There could be aliens there. You heard that China, I think it was last year, managed to get to the dark side of the moon.
It's a great album. No doubt about it. It's a fantastic album.
Absolutely. So I think that's an awesome topic for us at a later stage. But yeah, back to aliens, And I just had a quick Google here. I punched in aliens, and what comes up? The Aliens movie series, which was also one of my favorite series of movies as well. But those aliens were a little bit They're a bit mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really my cup of tea, but it was tricky when it comes to that. But one of the things I do find fascinating, not that I'm a conspiratorial person, although I do quite like the odd conspiracy, but don't you find it interesting just the way technology develops and kind of lately? And I often talk about, so I was a massive Star Trek fan. You know, to me, Captain Kirk, he was my hero. Joe Cole and I think Gene Roddenberry created that, pretty sure it was in the 60s. And it was like a massive success. And as a kid, I watched this and I used to love it. And just some of the little things. So I remember the little sort of transport or the communicator, they flick it open and they talk into it and then they'd be beamed up. But the thing with these little communicator things is, you know, don't they look like some of those cell phones we had, say, in the early 2000s? Same
Yeah, absolutely. The Motorola flip phone.
Yeah, exactly. You flip those puppies open and talk to them going, hang on a minute. And then when you talk about some of the technology and the materials that we use now. So the other thing that I had a wee look at, of course, which kind of really kicked off the whole UFO thing, probably when UFO, unidentified flying object, really got the start, was sort of 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. Anybody that's remotely interested in UFOs knows all about this. Of course, the Area 51.
It even started a TV series, Roswell.
Yeah, I mean, they will spend those things. I actually wonder if a lot of the TV stuff they put out, it's just put out as a smokescreen. You know, I mean, you got the Men in Black, I mean,
yeah,
good movies, but you do got to wonder, sometimes this stuff goes out there, it's in the public domain.
Well, I totally agree, because what I think is actually happening is, you imagine today, suddenly a whole bunch of aliens turn up, the world population would freak out, probably all have a heart attack. So what they're trying to do is they leak these little bits, these little samples of info, you know, like just recently about the David Fravor, you know, about him seeing the Tic Tac. You know, these little bits get leaked. And so we're slowly getting used to the idea about aliens, because it's probably already here. They probably already know about them, but they're so worried about overloading us with information that we'd all freak out.
I think it's a really interesting part about it, because let's just say that, you know, a spaceship turns up and it lands on the lawn of the White House. Well, that'd be interesting. Donald Trump and an alien. That'd be a fascinating conversation. But anyway,
yeah, carry on with that.
And it's kind of real. Okay, it's like, okay, they're real. They're here. They exist. Clearly, their technologies would be far superior from ours. I mean, that's just a given, right? But what it does, though, is it undermines a lot of the stability. And I know a lot of people are going, well, you know, there's no stability. Look at all the fires and wars and corruption, and blah, 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 blah. But if you go to the Dan Brown books, there's a couple of those there where if you kind of almost prove that there is no God or that religion's different, the billions and billions of people who use that, I'm not saying it's not, don't get me wrong, I'm just putting it out there as like a chain of events. Suddenly there will be no consequences because, well, there's no God, no heaven or hell. Well, I can do whatever I like. And the sort of global chaos that would result from that. And I know there's some great books around that you can read and sort of see. So it's not just about, are aliens real or aren't they? It's the consequence of what they might represent.
Well, there's a couple of religions that were started based on aliens. You know, the Church of Scientology.
Yeah, and the Mormons?
I was just going to say the Mormons. You know, God, we could go down, if we talked about some religious stuff, Jesus, we could go down the rabbit hole of that. Like some of the things that people believe, that come about. But yeah, the Church of Scientology, that's huge, and there's a lot of money in that now. Same with the Mormons.
Yeah.
You know, there's a whole alien backstory with both those churches.
Just on the Mormons, slightly off topic, but if you ever get a chance to see the Book of Mormon, the play, the musical, mate, you got to see it. It is fantastic. Funny as hell, but maybe we could do that in our art section. But that is funny as hell.
One thing I picked up on is why is it that in movies and people sort of think that when aliens come, they're going to land on the front lawn of the White House, or they're going to go to go and see the big leaders or the big politicians. I reckon they're not really going to give a stuff. I think they'll just turn up anywhere.
So you're more of an ET guy, so they're going to go to the little person, and it's going to go from there.
Yeah, I just don't know why people think that they would want to go and speak to, the leader of America. God, if they turned up on his lawn and spoke to him, they would be thinking, Jesus, these humans got no chance. We will wipe them out. Just like that other alien movie. The one that's a giant robot.
I think we've successfully triggered about 5 YouTube algorithms around religion and a whole bunch of others. So we're probably in the toilet anyway from a YouTube perspective.
Well, the great thing about us, we'll never be bought by mainstream media. We will always speak our minds. We're here for the people. Unless, of course, you've got $200 million and you can buy us out. That's fine.
I was going to say, I mean, Spotify, don't let that stop you from just making contact, just hearing directly from us.
Yeah. There's potential here with us too. Spotify, thank you.
And remember, there is 2 of us. So if Mike holds on to his principles, I won't. So and for half the price, so it's a bargain. So getting back, I want to get back, stop distracting me. Let's get back to the UFOs. So
yes.
You made a point and you said, why would they go and land on the White House or the Kremlin or Tiananmen Square, where the real earthly power is, so to speak. But I wonder, so you'd have to work on the premise that they have, like I said before, superior technology. So probably they've scoped us out anyway. I mean, with this little planet, right? So they prove that technology. And remember, we've been sending radio waves and signals out into space since they first started. So, if they bought a TV somewhere, they can tune in and watch this stuff.
Well, we sent a probe out into space with a gold plaque with 2 naked people on it.
I think it was Michelangelo's Renaissance Man or whatever it was.
You'd think they would have put clothes on those suckers.
I think they were, full disclosure. Like that. But so what I really reckon is happening, if there are aliens out there, is that it's almost like in the universe, with all these planets, they're doing things, right? It's almost like they've kind of put this wall around our solar system with like a big skull and crossbones that says, keep out, because these are really toxic people. You do not want to drift into there because they have no idea. They're just, the stuff they do to each other, they're just like banned.
Well, absolutely. Here they, I think what they've done is contributed to our creation. They put these chimps here on this beautiful planet, middle of the Milky Way galaxy. And then they've said, okay, let's flick the switch, see what happens. And then they come along, only about 10,000 years ago, and suddenly our brain size literally doubled, and we started inventing all these things. And then you think about Roswell, or you think about, back in the 1940s when, we created the atom bomb. And it was around those times, that period, where aliens started turning up, because they basically come back to check on us and they've gone, holy geez, these punks have created nuclear weapons. We should keep an eye on them. That's why we suddenly see more aliens.
But if you read some of von Daniken's books and even other books, and there's some plenty of YouTubes out there, but there's a lot of, I'm going to use the word evidence, maybe indicators are better, that aliens came long, long before that they have influenced and they've been here. There's a whole bunch of things. I remember watching a Star Trek once, and they'd actually gone back in time and to Earth around, I think around like that Sodom and Gomorrah time, and they went in and they did these things. They saved people and all the rest of it. But it was them, but of course they were interpreted as angels because they were these powers to do things. And you can just sort of see that. I mean, if you look at within Earth, when people from Europe, reached the Americas, etc., and the first time they'd seen, or even the Pacific, first time they ever seen, white people, Europeans, and they had things like muskets and these other, like, whoa, well, they've got to be a god because they can do this sort of thing. So it does really challenge the whole UFO thing. But one of the things I wanted to get onto was, you put me onto a great video, 4 hours worth, about a famous, becoming a famous incident, as much for the fact that the video has been officially released by the US Navy, so they're not hiding it, the old Project Blue Book. And so Mike, why don't you tell us a bit about that, because that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so this is just off the newshub.co.nz website, give them a bit of credit here. But it's basically, it says, one of the pilots whose encounter with a mysterious and still unexplained object off the coast of the US in 2004 says whatever it was, it committed an act of war. So let me explain a little bit. In November 2004, anomalies had been detected on radar off the coast of California. Commander David Fravor, so back to Lex's interview of him, then a US Navy pilot, which was dispatched to investigate, later describing what he saw as like nothing I've ever seen. So a 14-meter long tic-tac shaped object, able to turn on a dime and make itself invisible to radar. So that's where they're talking about the act of war. So any time when radar can be blocked by another aircraft, they consider that as an act of war. So he was followed. So he was followed by other pilots who managed to catch it on video. Then clips were leaked in 2017 by a UFO research group founded by the singer Tom DeLonge from Blink-182, and then later formally declassified this year, 2020, by the Pentagon, saying that it's true, there was unidentified flying objects off the coast of California. So amazing.
I've listened to majority of that, and for people out there, we'll put a link below so you can go to the YouTube and watch it. It's interesting, not just from a UFO perspective, but he talks about what it's like to be a fighter pilot and how you go about it. And I mean, I want to be a pilot by accident. I don't want to fly fighter, I don't want to fly transport so I can see the world. So I'm probably not the Top Gun sort of guy. But really, really interesting, landing on carriers, what they have to do, and the technology, and the front, the rear seats. So I get distracted from that. But
what would you have done, Grant, if you'd been that fighter pilot and you'd seen a tic-tac shaped unidentified flying object?
Well, so I think I mean, clearly he thought it was a craft of some sort. Nothing, and bearing in mind, they were flying some of the most advanced aircraft in the world, bar none. So they're not afraid of anything earthly, right? They've got the missiles and the gear and a carrier fleet to back them up. So they're not afraid of anything, and they're highly trained professionals. So he recognized this is not, he said this is not anything, listed on the top 5, weapons of war. So that's, I think I would just have gone in closer, because I think the the men and women who are fighter pilots, they've got that innate sense of fearlessness. They have to. They get these jobs because of their mindset, their psychology, their skills, and they're always kind of front-footing it because they are at the cutting edge. So I think if that had been me, and the fact I'm a nosy bastard, I would have just gone in. I'd have said to my wingman, mate, keep an eye. If it all goes tits up, then get in there and bail me out. But I'm going down, and he was descending, and it was ascending.
Yeah.
But I think once the whole weapon lock thing on, and it explains how that works, it's really fascinating. Obviously declassified now, and like you say, it blocked it, so that's technically an act of war. And then it just kind of did its thing and took off. But yeah, I think my first impression would have been to have gone down and really, because what have I got to lose? I mean, I'm a fighter pilot. Part of my job description is I could die defending my country. So boom, let's go.
It's a pretty exciting thing too. What I found fascinating about that podcast when he was talking is, like, when they got back, he was so busy with trying to do a million other things as being the commander and looking after all those other pilots that they watched a few alien movies,
they took the Mickey
space movies when they got back, and they gave him a lot of shit about it.
Yeah.
But they kind of just got on with their day.
And and that's the bit I find the most interesting. So part of the reports and with the UFO videos, the UFO channel, etc., we're saying, look, the helicopter arrived from the mainland, the guys in their suits came out, they got all the video, they took it all, and that just, according to this guy, never happened. And the video lay around, some guy kind of took it, play a prank, and then he got it back off them. They made some copies. And one of the other things that was really fascinating was this particular tape, because it wasn't digital, I don't think, in those days, it was actually tape. Is he had to, as commander, he was in charge of securing supplies, he had a budget, and they would reuse these tapes. And I found that fascinating. And then it wasn't until, like I say, years later when he was contacted, someone saw it, and they watched it, and they said, hey, that sounds familiar. And they couldn't understand how it got out, but he said at the time it was no big deal. No one was interested.
And the funny thing now is, like, if you watch that video, that podcast of Lex, he looks like a Men in Black, and he kind of speaks a little bit like a robot. Like, you'd be thinking, hey man, this guy's from another planet. Yeah,
he's clearly a clever guy. But the other side of that is, people remember that the XR-76, I think it is.
The black
suit. Yep. That thing flew for about, I'm going to say, nearly a decade before the US ever admitted they had it.
It was one of my favorite aircraft.
Yeah, beautiful. But I've actually seen a real one, and they are quite scary, to be honest.
And what amazed me about that aircraft was that when it would be just on the ground, it would be leaking fuel, because they had to build it in such a way that when it was traveling so fast that it expanded with the heat. Filled all the joints.
Crazy, scary stuff. The other thing is that it was the B1s, which were the small ones with all the radar deflecting shapes on them. They were flying those operationally around the world, for 3 or 4 years before they ever admitted they had it.
So that's the stealth bombers. So like, if you see them, if you'd never seen one of those before, and that flew over you, you'd be like, Jesus, this is, this is some type of alien technology.
I think they used those in the first or second Gulf Wars. So they actually used them. I mean, I find war interesting because really, the other side had no show. I mean, it was Iraq didn't get a look at, to be honest. I mean, it's not war. But anyway, the point is, so any technology we know about has already been around for 3, 4, 5 years. And what's to say that they haven't figured out a way to do this? And I would suggest the fact there was very little interest, it's more an indication that somewhere up high, they'd said, look, don't worry about it. Check it out. Act like it's, you know, do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, you know, nothing to see here, folks.
So, considering our title is Aliens Stole Our Barbecue, you know, what do you think about that? Do you think that's a possibility? Probably. Other people's barbecues could go missing. It's a legitimate technology.
Well, I'd be pretty impressed. I mean, barbecues have become quite sophisticated. And who knows, you know, everyone has a gap in their technology. Maybe they were with around the universe and felt they were missing something back home, and they've done this thermal scan, and they've seen us cooking a barbecue, you know, discussing our views on things, and thought, OMG, that's what our planet needs. We don't have those. And, you know, I think it's a little bit unfair that they just took the barbecue. I think they could have traded for like stealth technology, you know, that thing, warp speed or whatever. We could have driven a hard bargain. I mean, the Don is a great bargain. He's a great businessman. He could have done a deal.
Oh, absolutely. So what's next? Do you think we're going to see probably next year a little bit more alien technology coming out, another UFO video? You know, like, you know, the governments are slowly feeding us this information, getting the humans used to the idea that, you know, we're not the only.
Well, I think we've clearly demonstrated that
people in the world.
This is our second video, but our first alien UFO video. And I think we've got a playlist coming here. So I think this is our introduction, because we haven't talked about abductions, interbreeding, the aliens that have been dissected.
A lot of conspiracy stuff out there. One thing I'm just going to pop into the playlist is Bob Lazar. We'll need to have a little chat about him.
Yes, Bob Lazar, remarkable man, still doing his stuff, was raided a gazillion times. There is out there, again, we'll find the link to it when we do the video on him, this remarkable story about what he did and where he was involved, and his descriptions of the spacecraft that he worked on. So won't give too much away. We'll do a bit of research on it. We'll come back and we'll go into it. But I think that we definitely have a theme that we could delve deeper in. And don't forget, remember, there was some, you know, we've had UFOs in New Zealand. There were lights off the Kaikoura coast back in the 70s or 80s. And
we need to research a bit of that and get that info out to our audience.
Yep, absolutely. So, so look, we'll be back on aliens. We're not going to just do them one after the other. We'll have something different next time. We like to vary it, because you know the Barbie, if you cook the same thing over and over again, it's a bit boring. Same with talking. So we'll come up with it. If you've got a topic you would like the blokey barbecuers and wheelchairs who are straight shooters to discuss, just leave a comment below. Let us know what the topic is. We'll research it, and we'll come back to you, and we'll cook up a really good meal.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I think we've had quite a good little discussion. You know, there's so much we could delve deep into, and we will get there. We're just giving a few tasters. You know, all the people out there can see what we're about and what we're up to.
I think I just want to say a big thank you. I mean, like I said, this is our second video, to all of our followers out there for following the instructions.
Oh, yeah, great.
To not click the like button. You all did that, and we've had no likes, so that is fantastic. We want to thank you for following. Of course, you know, if you want to ignore us and click the like, well,
and we check out all the views that we've got so far. I think half of them are our own. Doing great.
Yeah, I think we've got 9, and I watched it 5 times. So, you know,
we're doing good.
Yeah,
spread the word. Okay, so all the people up there, comment on our video. Click the subscribe button. Click the like button. Let us know what you want. And any complaints, just send them straight to Grant right there.
Exactly. And yeah, so that's it from Straight Shooters. If you've had your barbecue flogged by aliens, let us know. We're not going to get it back, but we'll certainly share that news in case someone sees a flying saucer. with your barbecue. Take care, people. Stay safe out there, Mikey. Great chatting again.
Good talk.
What's that in the background flying across? Oh my God. Oh no. Okay, that's us. Bye.